The ancient tablet with your name reveals a powerful truth. Your presence is the unseen force that keeps everything intact. People often don't realize your value until you're gone, and when that happens, chaos follows. This is the linchpin effect. When the most important piece is removed, everything else unravels. You weren't just a participant in their lives. You were the silent architect, the glue that held it all together. Your absence, though unnoticed at first, is now being felt everywhere, like a jarring twist in a psychological thriller. The truth is clear now. The world without you is a post-apocalyptic disaster. They only truly understand your power when you're gone. The Chosen One's influence was never as obvious as it is now. Hold tight. The world is shifting, and the truth is coming to light. The first is the cosmic equilibrium that is veiled. Never is a chosen one simply another individual. Your presence carries an unsaid weight, a gravitational pull that keeps everything in your immediate vicinity stable. Though they may not always be aware of it, people sense it. When you're around, people behave differently, think more clearly, and consider things through before acting rashly. Conflict resolves more quickly. Things go more smoothly, and even the vibe of a room changes as a result of your being there. The element that most people are unaware of, however, is that there is a cosmic balance in your presence. It simply occurs. It's not something you attempt to accomplish. Without attempting, you exude an invisible energy that prevents pandemonium from erupting. You provide guidance to people who lack it, order to chaos, and insight to confusion. Between things barely hanging together and things functioning well, you are the difference. That equilibrium is upset when you vanish. Suddenly, the same folks who thought you were simply one among many are drowning in issues they have never faced before. Your stabilizing influence no longer exists to cushion the blow. Not that life has suddenly become more difficult. They no longer possess your energy to deflect the attacks. You used to snuff out tiny flames mindlessly, but now they spread. Uncertainty has taken the place of your implicit advice. The system that used to run flawlessly now breaks down because the secret power that held it together has vanished. The irony is that balance is seldom appreciated until it is absent. They are blind to the unseen labor you accomplished, the quiet power you wielded, and the way you unwittingly contained the turmoil. However, when that equilibrium is lost, the fissures appear, and what was once simple now seems unachievable. They realize then that you were the equation, not simply a component of it. Second, your energy, not your presence, is what people are hooked to. People usually adore you because of how you make them feel, not because of who you are. They are more tied to the energy you bring into their life than they are to your name, your face, or even your personality. They are fed by your presence in ways they are unaware of. It provides individuals with clarity, emotional stability, and a sense of groundedness. But they don't consider it since this occurs so spontaneously. Until you're gone, they think this emotion is normal. The withdrawal begins the moment you detach yourself. They begin to feel strange, agitated, and perplexed. Their ideas don't appear as keen. Life seems more difficult, and talks seem more empty. At that point, they realize that you were the source of something they were getting without even realizing it. Although they believed they were self-sufficient, your presence was providing them with emotional equilibrium and stability, which they mistakenly believed to be their own strength. That illusion is broken now without you. The worst part is that they desire you, not in a romantic sense, but more in the sense that someone longs for warmth after being abandoned. They rush to cover the gap. They look for fresh routines, fresh people, and fresh diversions. What they really needed was your unique energy, not just another person. So nothing strikes the same way. For this reason, after you depart, some individuals who never really appreciated you may start acting out. They are grieving the loss of an emotion they are unable to regain, not the death of a friend, spouse, or colleague. Since acknowledging otherwise would reveal how much they depended on you, they may behave out, attempt to shame you into going back, or even pretend you never existed. But the fact still stands. What you offered them, without even trying, was more important than who you were as a person. Third, you were the architect who silently supported a collapsing building. You were always more than a single component. You were the overall plan, the support system for others, and the unseen power that kept things together even when no one was looking. Without you, the already existing fissures start to spread and it becomes difficult to deny the reality. You were the mastermind, the unseen cornerstone that held everything together. Individuals like thinking that everything goes smoothly on its own, that teams function because of collaboration, that friendships last because of reciprocal effort, and that families remain together because that is the way things are. However, that is untrue. In fact, every functioning system has a secret pillar, someone who takes the strain, handles the unsaid disputes, and makes sure that nothing falls apart on its own. You were that person in your world, and no one gave it a second thought since you made it seem so easy. They thought everything simply worked. They never asked why your presence kept projects on course, why disagreements diffused when you spoke, or why certain relationships only endured because of your capacity for sacrifice, mediation, or guidance. However, when you vanish, everything stops functioning as it once did. Miscommunication causes disorder, little difficulties grow into bigger ones, and the previously present feeling of order disappears. They may first reject it and attribute it to poor luck, ill-timed events, or other factors. But in the back of your mind, you start to realize that it wasn't luck, but you. As the uncredited engineer, ensuring that the whole system didn't collapse due to its inherent malfunction. You were more than simply another participant in their lives. And they're left standing in the rubble of what they believed to be solid now that you're gone. But you were the only thing holding everything together. It was never solid. The law of unconscious reliance is number 4. Until those people are no longer there to bear the burden, people are unaware of the weight they lay on them. It's just human nature. It's seldom malevolent and not deliberate. Unaware of how much we rely on strength, stability, and intelligence, we automatically gravitate toward and draw from them. You may not realize how many times you have been that quiet anchor for others. If you are one of those strong individuals, people have come to you for guidance, even if they haven't explicitly sought for it. In circumstances that otherwise may have gotten out of hand, you have served as the emotional safety net. You have been the unseen leader, the silent troubleshooter, and the one who prevented everything from utterly collapsing. People also persuaded themselves for a long time that everything was okay, that things simply happened organically, and that they were on their own. However, reality strikes them like a train when you distance yourself. They don't know why, but all of a sudden, choice seems more difficult, issues appear more significant, and their previous feeling of security feels unstable. It's because they were unknowingly relying on you. The irony of it all? Your influence got more imperceptible the more powerful and dependable you were. You made everything seem simple and straightforward. They believed they weren't depending on you at all, since you never made a show of how much you were doing or wanted attention. Until you go. Then, suddenly, they understood that you were the foundation they were standing on, not the dirt below. The worst part is that most won't even know how to acknowledge it. Rather of stating, "I depended on you more than I realized," they would attribute your departure to selfishness. Rather of recognizing your contribution, they will rush to replace you, only to discover that what you brought to the table was not only what you accomplished, but who you are. Number 5. When you are not there, people start to feel powerful. For many individuals, power is a myth. They borrow it, they don't really own it. It only exists because they are surrounded by the right people, the right energy, and the appropriate framework to support them. That scaffolding was often you. Some individuals went about their lives believing they were in control, that they had everything under control, and that they were the foundation of a company, a group, or a relationship. The fact is, however, that they never recognized that their strength was a mirror of yours, that the quiet structure you gave them fueled their confidence, and that their judgments seemed sound because they were influenced by you, even if they never acknowledged it. But the illusion vanishes along with you. All of a sudden, those who seem to be in positions of authority begin to make glaring errors. Their leadership falters, their decisions backfire, and the stability they previously enjoyed devolves into anarchy. In actuality, they were only supported by your presence and never took the lead. They flourished in your presence, consuming the power, wisdom, and clarity you unwittingly gave them. And they're exposed now that you're gone. Some will make an effort to make up for it. They will imitate your behavior, including your words, your demeanor, and even your approach to making decisions. However, it won't work since what you did was genuine and not an act. They now have to fake something that came effortlessly to you, and fakeness always breaks out under duress. Some will spiral. They may snap, become defensive, or make a valiant effort to persuade themselves that nothing has changed. They know in their hearts, however, that their seeming authority was stolen and never really theirs, and without you, they are in the dark. The sixth is that turmoil exposes the true selves of people in your immediate vicinity. When everything is well, people might act as if nothing is wrong. They can act, wear masks, and persuade themselves and the outside world that they are strong, competent, and reliable. The truth, however, comes out when pandemonium takes over, and nothing causes chaos more quickly than losing the one person who is unwittingly keeping everything together. Whether you intended to be or not, you were a stabilizing factor. Your influence established a framework that enabled others to perform at their highest level. Your presence kept individuals in check, and your energy eased tensions. But as soon as you take a step back, the true person emerges. Not the polished image they put on display for the public, but the unvarnished reality. The people who feigned competence are being exposed for their incompetence. The betrayals of those who seem to be faithful are exposed. Those who seem to be level-headed are suddenly disintegrating, exposing their vulnerabilities and anxieties to the public. Some people can't bear the sight of their own image in a mirror, which is your absence. There will be panickers. They will attempt to hide their shortcomings, fight to maintain the appearance, and seem as if everything is still under control. However, reality is truthful. Without you, the previously imperceptible fractures enlarge into huge holes, and their whole facade begins to fall apart. Since responsibility was never their strong suit, others would snap, accusing everyone except themselves. As if they weren't fully grown adults before you left, they could even turn against you and accuse you of leaving them. Because it's simpler for some people to blame you for not being there than to acknowledge that they were only ever able to function because of you. However, what is the reality? They changed. You didn't. Or rather, this was how they were always. They were able to conceal it more easily because of your presence. There is nowhere left to hide now that you're gone, and the world can see them for who they really are. Seventh, even if you weren't aware of it, you played a spiritual part. When you enter a room, everything seems different for a purpose. It's the energy you carry, not simply your presence. Whether you realized it or not, you were serving as a spiritual anchor rather than just carrying out a duty or contributing to the lives of others. And that energy vanishes the instant you leave, and the change is irrefutable. Some individuals believe that habits, systems, or outside influences provide stability. That's just half the story, however. Spiritual presence and the invisible force that keeps everything together are the sources of true stability. And you were just that. You changed the whole tone of the discourse, not just your participation. Your enthusiasm provided clarity where there was uncertainty, and you did more than merely assist others in making choices. You were not only a part of settings, you quietly prevented them from degenerating into chaos. Still, nobody paid any attention. They assumed your composure was the norm. They never understood that your presence was controlling the energy, so they took the calm they experienced for granted. However, the vibe shifts after you go. Disarray, misalignment, and an uneasy feeling of instability are what remain once the equilibrium you unintentionally created is lost. Some could attribute it to circumstances, while others might label it bad luck. But they sense the emptiness in their hearts. The most revealing aspect? They will attempt to replace you because they believe someone else can take your place. However, energy like yours cannot be replaced. They may bring in someone who has the same abilities, vocabulary, and even appearance. However, it won't feel the same since what you offered was spiritual in nature, rather than just intellectual, emotional, or physical. And nothing else can replace that type of presence after it's gone. The eighth is that the cosmos checks your absence. When you least expect it, life has a way of revealing the truth. The world sometimes takes you out of a situation, not to punish you, but to assess whether others around you were really enjoying what you had to offer, or if they were just taking things for granted. The truth is that genuine worth may be shown in the absence of anything. It's simple for individuals to ignore what's constantly there and believe that stability, calm, and direction come spontaneously. However, the reality emerges as the power that holds everything together pulls away. The universe will then observe to see whether they can handle the situation. Will they take charge, own up to their mistakes, and demonstrate their appreciation for you? Or are they going to let everything to fall apart and show that they were just coasting on the foundation you laid? The majority of the time, your response is their failure. Sometimes your departure is not a conscious decision. Rather, it is a necessary change that is divinely arranged. The cosmos had to reveal who was genuine and who was just taking advantage of your presence. Even while it may seem harsh, some individuals were only supposed to be tested and left behind. They were never supposed to change with you. You don't have to bear everything forever. A universe that can't stand on its own was never supposed to be supported by you. Things were never solid in the first place if your absence makes them crumble. The universe takes you away to expose them, not to punish them. And there's no turning back once you realize the reality. The transition from quiet spectator to invisible catalyst is number 9. People seldom pause to think about the significance of your presence because they are so used to ignoring you. You didn't demand attention, you weren't loud, and you weren't aggressive. And as a result, they believed you to be just a part of the background, a friend, spouse, brother, or colleague who blended in with life's rhythm. They were unaware, however, that you were never only a part of the landscape. You were the silent power that led everything in the correct direction, prevented things from getting out of hand, molded choices with insight, calmed turmoil with energy, and transformed confusion into clarity with knowledge. Even when others believed they were operating independently, you were the invisible spark that made things work. You weren't a spectator. Then you went away. The flow abruptly halted. Conversations felt different. Plans didn't work out as well as they once did. Because the person who made everything work was no longer present. The natural ease that people formerly had vanished. They may first attempt to brush it off, swap you out, and act as if nothing has happened. Unquestionably, however, there is a gap, and they are unsure of how to fill it. Your contribution was more than simply work or action. It was your soul, the way you pulled things together, the way you quietly made order out of chaos, and the way you uplifted people without them even realizing it. Because you were as smooth as oxygen, Necessary but invisible. They took you for granted. They don't understand you were more than simply a participant in their universe until it's gone. You were the energy that gave it life, movement, and direction. 10th, without you, people's comfort zones are shattered. People prefer to think that their feeling of stability comes from inside and that they are in charge of their own life. In actuality, however, a lot of people's comfort is constructed from the outside, and you served as the cornerstone for many of them. Unbeknownst to you, you offered a psychological and emotional safety net. People were able to unwind in ways they never really realized while you were around. Because you were there, they could afford to ponder, attempt, and risk less. They may have persuaded themselves that they were self-sufficient, but they understood deep down that you would be held accountable if anything went wrong. That's why everything changes when you go. The implicit protection they experienced abruptly disappears. Decisions seem heavier, conversations grow more uncomfortable, and situations they used to handle with ease suddenly seem oddly challenging. It's because you were the unseen thread that kept the whole thing together, not because the world has changed. The worst part is that most folks aren't even aware that this is taking place. They will blame events, poor luck, or even you for leaving them, rather of saying, "I feel lost because you're gone." However, they're secretly experiencing something they can't quite describe, an unexpected vulnerability, an uncomfortable uneasiness, or a sensation that something is lacking. You were that something. In their lives, you were more than simply a person. You were a pillar, a mentor, and a quiet source of support. For the first time, they are compelled to realize what they previously refused to accept. You were the reason their world felt whole, not simply a part of it. The fact has always been straightforward. You were the universe they unwittingly depended on, not just another individual. They sense it now, but they didn't see it while you were there. The disarray, the emptiness, and the unraveling all demonstrate how unusual your presence was. They believed it to be the unshakable basis, the quiet power that kept everything moving. And yet, despite everything, you stay the same, while others find it difficult to adapt. You are free to enter a world where you are respected rather than just used, free from the burden of keeping everything together and hidden expectations. It won't matter by then, but some people will realize what they lost. You've already transcended them, their delusions, and the boundaries they unwittingly set for you. Because a chosen one doesn't hang around in places that don't value them. You don't run, you don't come back, you get up. And as you go ahead, the past falls away from you, not as a loss, but as evidence that you were the structure and never just a component of it. And without you, all that's left is the reality they were never prepared to confront. It was always you, never them. You already know you're unique if this message struck a chord with you, and you sense the truth in every word. You see things that others miss, you feel things that others overlook, and you comprehend things that most people will never understand. You're here for that reason. This channel is a mirror reflecting the realities that most people avoid. It's more than simply material. Make sure to subscribe if you're prepared to go even farther and discover more of the strength and knowledge that have always been within of you. Because, let's face it, you look for things that awaken you, not simply things that amuse you. And that is precisely what we do in this place. So, click the subscribe button, enable alerts, and dive right into the information that was always intended for you. The trip goes on. Avoid observing from a distance.